giving that time. Punchal leg stand, punchir America. Banyi dwala banaban. Punchal leg stand, punchir America. Banyi dwala banaban. Wo koji leg kankaro watana wachin. Oga leg juir kwa ugara leg. Panda wajaye punchir America. Banyi dwala bana. Chingitongo pandon kujuera baya cheka. Paku panda juir wajya bi dwala. Punchir America, Banyi dwala banaban. Punchal leg stand.
Alrighty, welcome, Comrade Abraham Awolich. Welcome to Legacy State Media again for a second time. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Please share the video while I start my interview with Abraham Awolich. So Abraham Awolich is with us today. So today is August 31st, 2001. So yesterday was August 30th, where the date that the PCCA was the day of the awakening or for protest. Today, Abraham Awolich is here in Legacy State Media to give public an update about what happened. Abraham, welcome to Legacy State Media.
Thank you very much, Abraham Medit, for hosting me again today, and to all the members of the Legacy State Media for continuing to do a very good job keeping our people informed on current affairs of South Sudan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Abraham, give us an update. Yesterday was August 30th, was the day that PCCA set a day of protest. So the citizens can go on the street across Sudan to protest. So how things go? How is the yesterday we see everybody was so watching in the news, and we see there's no turnout on the street. So what happened yesterday?
Thank you very much. That is a very good question to all of us. Yesterday, three things happened in South Sudan. First, we announced on the 13th of August, the 30th of August as the National Day of Awakening. And we named it the National Day of Awakening for a very simple reason. We intended to wake up the people of South Sudan to realize what is happening in their country. And so, as far as we are concerned with regard to waking the people of South Sudan up, we succeeded. It was a wonderful success yesterday. Our people have awakened. Now, there were two things that we have also told people to do. We told them to come to the streets or stay home as a form of protest. And the government has been responding. Government has responded massively across the country by deploying the number of troops you have never seen before in South Sudan. Even during the 2013 and 2016 conflict, we have never seen such level of weaponry being displayed, and also the number of soldiers being deployed. So they definitely scared the people of South Sudan not to come out. And they threatened them that if they were to come out, they will be shot. So as responsible people, we told our organizers on the ground that it is not wise to take risk and bring people to confront the soldiers. Let them stay home. Let them not come to work. And so majority of the people of South Sudan actually, by estimates, 70% of government workers and private workers all stayed home. They did not go to the streets to protest. They protest instead by not going to work. And so you can read it in two ways. For the government's perspective, they have succeeded in preventing mass protests by deploying all the weapons they have in their arsenal. For us as the PCCA and the people of South Sudan, we have won because our people have stayed home. They didn't protest, but they didn't go to work. And so they got scared by the government. So there was no protest yesterday. There were few places where people actually went out, but they were dispersed very quickly. And so we cannot lie to the people of South Sudan that there were protests yesterday. There were no protests. But from the organizers' standpoint, those of us who organized this, we didn't actually expect people to come out and protest. What we intended to do was to actually mobilize people. And those who are not part of our organization, obviously they will say, you did not know what you are doing and all of that. But we actually, everything played in our interest. First, what we wanted to create was to create an alarm that something is going on in South Sudan. And that is why we actually said we are going to protest on the 30th. We published the locations where we are going to protest, and we informed the police in public that we are going to protest on this date. If you are a smart observer, you would say, why would you do that? Why would you tell the government to be ready for your protest? But we really wanted to do two things with that. We wanted to create an alert that there is something going on in South Sudan, and for people to know that there is an organization called PCCA organizing people for this cause. Number two, we wanted to see what the response of the government was. We had expected three things from the government. First, as they claim that we are three people who are making noise in the internet and we have no supporters on the ground, they could have ignored us completely, not reacting to us. And then we call people to come out and they don't come out, and they end of the story. Number two, they could have actually mobilized their own supporters to protest in support of the government. And then it will now be a competition of who has the largest crowd, the government or the PCCA. That is one. Number three, we had expected the government to respond to the demands that we have made and come out with a plan on how to manage those. But the government didn't do any of those. They chose to deploy the army, the soldiers all over the country. And then they arrested our supporters and also members of civil society who did not even support us. They were arrested and intimidated. Radios were shut down, communication was shut down. So from our perspective yesterday, because we have shaken the government of South Sudan for the first time in its history, that ordinary people would challenge the government, got scared so bad they had to bring out all the weapons they have in their possession to try to fight with citizens who are simply coming out to protest peacefully. So from that perspective, we have won, and we want to congratulate the people of South Sudan for winning that. Number two, from organizers' perspective, the fact that the government got scared to the point of shutting down the internet and all the means of communication and resorting to forgery. For example, the government went and forged our document and issued a statement that we have actually postponed and canceled the protest. And then after issuing that statement, they immediately shut down the internet. That was also calculated. That means that they felt our presence on the ground and they were fearful, so they had to take precautions. And so people did not protest yesterday in terms of coming to the streets, but they protest by staying home, by closing their shops, and by basically just boycotting everything. And so from our perspective, it was a major victory and a major win for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, as you see, you mentioned before there is a document going on in social media. There is a second document that is circling around in social media. And this document, it said that is a document that you and your team form your government, your leadership. And you were one of, you have been the top leader as an interim leader. And then, and your colleagues, the vice president. Is that document coming from you guys? Did you recognize that document has your take over the leadership presidency?
Nope, that document is absolutely false. We are a civic pressure group. We have no intention of capturing state power, and therefore, whoever produced that document, based on our intelligence, both the forged documents, the previous one and this one, is a work of Ambassador Gordon Boy in Washington with his team. He is the propaganda machine of the state, and he has been known for producing those fake documents. The people of South Sudan should know that the PCCA is not seeking political power. We want change. We want change that is benefiting the people of South Sudan, and therefore we have not even organized our internal functions in terms of who is our leader and who is our deputy and all of that. We have not done that yet. And the reason is simple. We are 30 days old. Today we are 31 days old. And we have to mobilize our people. So the priority is not who is to become a leader and who is to become a deputy and all of that. We are all doing equal job. We are communicating, we are mobilizing, we are talking to our people, and we are passing important messages to our people for mobilization. Now, when we have solidified our mobilization and organization on the ground, we can then sit down as a group and structure ourselves. The question of who is to be the next leader of South Sudan is much bigger. It is not at the level of PCCA. This is a conversation that the people of South Sudan should have. And it should include those who are now in the government and those who are carrying arms. And then it must also include non-violent organizations like ours. So it is a much wider conversation. And so those people who are trying to create, those who are creating those fake documents are doing it to try to create conflict within the PCCA and to scare off our supporters. Because if people don't see themselves in this, then why should they become part of the PCCA? So that document should be disregarded completely. It is baseless, and it is premature to think the work that we are doing is going to take a long time, and the need to reform South Sudan is not a work of a small organization like ours. It must be much broader, and you need to create a roundtable for all South Sudanese opposition groups and those in government to agree on the type of transitional framework that they should have, which would then include the nature and structure of the leadership.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned before that the government deploy the soldiers, police, national security, and other government organ
Military intelligence, yes.
intelligence on the street. You said that government is scared of PCCA, but on the other side, government said the reason why they deploy the heavy arm on the street is because of the rebels. They are afraid that the call that PCCA did is probably the rebels movements who are around Juba or around every town, they will hijack you guys call, and then they can take advantage of it. And that's the reason why they take caution, deploy the military so that they can uh, serve and put the security in place. So, what do you think about that claim from the government?
Well, it is a very lame claim indeed. First of all, the initial position of the government was that PCCA is just an organization of 3 people. Now, how does PCCA create an environment in which the rebels would take advantage? So there is no basis for that. There are no rebels in Juba. Juba is firmly under the control of government. There are no rebels in Bor. Bor is firmly under full control of government. There are no rebels in Awil, and Awil was locked down. There are no rebels in Wau or in Yei, or in Bentiu. These are all government control areas, and the rebels did not say they were advancing to take power. So the government was clearly scared of the people of South Sudan, and why were people actually why were government soldiers deployed in the neighborhoods? Is that where rebels are hiding? I thought rebels are outside the Juba, that they would come and attack Juba. So soldiers should have been deployed outside to the main areas where the rebels are likely to enter. Perhaps what the government is telling you, Abraham, and the people of South Sudan is that they consider all of us civilians rebels, and today that became clear. The government has gone ahead to arrest and fine those who closed their shops yesterday. They are being fined $50,000 shillings, pounds, I mean, and they are likely to lose their jobs because they have listened to our call, and therefore they are considered rebels. So the rebels that the government are referring to are ordinary people of South Sudan. They are not real rebels led by General Thomas Cirillo or Gadwiji Dwal. I don't know if Gadwiji Dwal is considered a rebel, or led by Paul Malone. It is the ordinary people of South Sudan against which the government actually deployed military tanks and other heavy weaponry. And so that claim is very lame. It has no basis. It was the government deployed there to intimidate. And they did not just deploy. They actually deployed soldiers in front of the offices of civil society leaders, those that they suspect would be leading the demonstrations. And they actually send threatening messages to leaders of civil society that we know you are part of this and we are going to capture you and all of that. And they arrested some, and they actually closed down the radio, and they locked down the whole internet. Was that because of rebels were also going to take advantage of the internet? Yeah, so that argument holds no water. It actually shows that the government is extremely weak, extremely unpopular, and therefore they are holding the people of South Sudan hostage, and they are governing them using the barrel of the gun, not what they claim to be popularity. So it was clearly a win for the PCCA. We existed only for 3 weeks, and we were able to scare the government because we managed to bring the people of South Sudan together in 30 days. So thank you.
Yeah, so follow up for that question, David Amor is saying that the reason why the forces were deployed on the street yesterday in Juba was because of inauguration of the parliamentarian. So that's one of the reasons for their security.
Well, that is very funny. Never before has anybody deployed troops for the opening of the parliament. The parliament has always been open. And in fact, the first parliament that was open in 2006, I was present when the president opened the parliament. It was on the 10th of April, 2006. No troops were deployed. And every opening of the parliament since then, I have been attending. In fact, it is only presidential guards who accompany the president that are deployed, not even the police. So, so what happened to this parliament that requires so massive deployment of troops? So the government really have to get their story straight. There is no basis for deploying soldiers in Shirkat. And you know Juba Abraham, Shirkat is on the other side of the river. Those soldiers
Yeah.
are still on the street now. They are still on the street as we speak. And the parliament was open yesterday, and the president went home, the parliamentarian went home. There is no PCCA protest on the street, and there are no rebels in Juba. So why are they still deployed now in Shirkat and other places? So the government really got embarrassed because they brought a lot of weapons out against unarmed civilians. And we are very proud of our people. Nobody threw a stone yesterday or even burned a tire. They have actually followed our instructions that if they feel scared, and this is something we did not announce, we communicated to our organizers on the ground, that if people feel scared, their best bet is to stay home so that they don't risk being killed. And staying home is another form of protest. And that is what they did. So the government really was scared. They remain scared right now. That's why those soldiers are still there. And that is a victory for us. We have actually captivated the attention of the people of South Sudan, and the government knows this directly from the ground. Their intelligence told them that even the soldiers are with the PCCA, even government officials, and so that's why we said we have awoken our people, and so the National Day of Awakening became true. People are awake. They know what is going on in their country, and now they are having conversation. That is what we needed, and we have achieved that.
Thank you. Another question is coming from the government. I saying that, including Press Secretary Mr. Atanyawak, there was a release statement that I read today this morning, and he said that PCCA is a social media organization, and people of South Sudan cannot dwell or put their mind into it. PPCA is a social media organization, and it will die. It will remain in social media. So, what do you say about that? And and a lot of voices are saying this. They said PCCA is a media, is just a social media organization that they don't have. They just making noise on the social media, but it's nothing. They don't have any hold of water to bring any harm or any change or any weaknesses in South Sudan toward government.
Why don't we do this, Abraham? Uh, Tell Atanyuweg Atany and Michael Mokwe. And Michael Mokwe has been shouting on top of his lungs that if you don't open your shops, if you don't come to work, we are going to arrest you. And people did not listen to him. They stayed home yesterday. And now they are to tell Atanyuweg and the government this, that if they think that PCCA is a social media organization, and I can tell you, Facebook, which we are using now, WhatsApp, which we are using now, YouTube, Google, these are all online organizations and they run the world. So the idea that something organized online is not as powerful is a lie. And so, first of all, we are not social media based organizations. We declared our declaration inside the town of Juba through a press conference. And we have a very clear, attractive message to the people of South Sudan, which is why the government is scared about it and they are releasing statements. Why do they make statements about PCCA? Why don't they just ignore it? So here is my challenge to Atanyuek and the government. Let them fix a date for them to organize their supporters and for us to organize our supporters and hold peaceful rallies in different parts of Juba and see who is going to have more supporters. And this time, no deployment of soldiers, no deployment of police, no scary tactics, no shutdown of networks. And we'll just speak to our people, the people of South Sudan, and let's see who is going to have more supporters and whether we are just an online organization. That is my challenge to them. If they really are confident in their popularity, let them do that. Let us fix, say, for example, the 12th of September, for example, which is when the current peace agreement will be 36 months old since it was signed, will be 3 years old. Why don't we fix that date? And I will go to the ground and mobilize my people and let the government use all the money that it has to buy the supporters. And let's see who is going to have a large crowd in Cuba. And we can separate this. Maybe I can organize my rallies in New Side or in Gudele and let the government organize it rallies on John Garang Mausoleum, and let's see who is going to have a larger crowd. So that is my challenge to them, and obviously, on a serious note, the PCCA is not a social media organization that is just making noise on Facebook. We are on the ground. They felt us in Wow, they felt us in Ye, they felt us in Mariti and Yampi, and in Bor, and in Awil, and in Kwajok, and in Bentiu, in Torit and Numili. They felt us on the ground. That's why they had to deploy a lot of resources. They spent $10 million to make sure that the PCCA does not get people out. So, and we spent zero. We had no money. Nobody supported us. We were just talking. And so if the government can spend $10 million to prevent us from getting our messages out, and we managed to get 70% of government employees not to go to work yesterday. They listened to us. What if we had $10 million? What would have happened? The story would have been different. Now you would have been interviewing me in a different place. Yeah, so we are very popular on the ground. We are well organized. We have a very clear message. And our message is that we need change in South Sudan. Our people have suffered enough. And we are exposing the government that it is incompetent, it is wasting our resources, and that the leadership has failed. That is our simple message. And because of failure of leadership, the last 10 years has been wasted on unnecessary wars and unbearable suffering. Half our population is displaced, and basically the unlawfulness, the breakdown of the rule of law has been reigning across the rural areas in South Sudan. You know this in Lake State, and that is absolute failure of government. Now you can see with General Rintwing, he has come in less than a month and restore law and order. That's what is required of government. And so this is what we are challenging, and that's why the message is South Sudan. And that's why had no friend, people of South Sudan. It is guns that are their friends. And it is very unfortunate to have a government that loves guns more than its own people. And it is a shame on government. So we are more popular on the ground than the Artigono, and we have a challenge on the ground. If they are willing to pick it up, let them do, and we'll see. Thank you. I don't hear you anymore, Abraham.
Yeah, sorry, I mute myself. So
Okay.
yeah, so the next question is mostly let us focus on that because 2 years ago the Red Card movement came out the same way the PCCA came out, and then within one day, red card was popular like the way that PCCA was popular, and by then, and then within one day, like yesterday, and the red card that's it, it's done. People are saying that okay, now after August 30th today, people say that in social media they're saying that the PCCA has failed the way that red card movement failed. What do you think about that claim? Is it true? The PCCA failed his vision.
Those who believe that PCCA has failed are people who don't understand what we are trying to do. I have seen the analysts on your show yesterday, and they were totally wrong. They don't understand the context in which we are operating. First of all, PCCA has been around for 30 days. And in South Sudan, because of the security restrictions, you cannot mobilize people. You cannot go house to house and say, we have something, we have an organization, we want to mobilize people to rise up against the government. You cannot go anywhere. So our strategy has been simple. First of all, we made a declaration of what we intend to do. And we issued that on the 30th of July. So that declaration has captivated the attention of people, but it didn't do enough. So to get people to know who we are, we had to set that day, 30th of August, as a day of awakening. Why do we call it awakening? It's people to wake people up, to sound an alarm that something is going on wrong. We didn't say that was the final day of victory, that we are going to win and that we are going to bring the government down. No, we call it a national day of awakening for a reason. It's a day when people of South Sudan would be awakened that there is a new reality in the country. And I think we have done that. And the government actually helped us so much by spreading our message to the people of South Sudan. For example, when they shut down the whole internet across the country, people were asking, oh, there is no internet, what happened? People would say, oh, there is this thing called PCCA. They are asking for the government to step down and to do this and all of that. Really, who are they? Now, that's the recruitment tool for us. And that is why we are declaring victory yesterday. Now, the name PCCA has become an household name in South Sudan in 30 days. And that is what people are talking about. Now, if I send my people around to villages and to towns to recruit people and organize them, and they ask, who are you? I'm from PCCA. Oh, you are the people who are doing this. Yes, it will be very easy. So context matters. So in our own context, we needed to do what we did to generate support and for us to be known. Now we are known internationally and within South Sudan. So if we can generate that level of awareness and support in 30 days, can you imagine what we can do in 90 days? So the PCCA is not dead. The PCCA actually got born yesterday. That's when it became part of the name of the households of the people of South Sudan. They came to know that the whole town is locked down. The soldiers are everywhere. Why? Because of PCCA. So that is why we are declaring victory. Those who do not know who we are and what we are trying to do and the circumstances under which we are trying to do it will be the one that will be quick to declare the PCCA dead. But from those of us who are organizing this, it was a clear victory for us. Because here in Lake State Media, I have talked to you, this is my third time. And you have also been sharing my interviews, and I thank you for that. But the people that listen to you are limited. These are educated people who use social media platforms, young people, and they are very important. But the people in the rural areas, those who are selling their own things in Konya Konya, don't know about Lake State Media. And they don't know about other platforms. These are the people who got informed yesterday that there is something called PCCA. That is why Konya Konya was closed down. That's why Custom Market was closed down. That's why Juba Market was closed down. That's why soldiers were on the streets in Ye, in Malakal, in Reng, and all the other towns. So our message actually expanded 100 times yesterday. And that's why we are calling this a victory. And so we are not dead. We have just started, and we are becoming more popular with the actions of the government. And that was exactly our intention. We wanted the government to spend money on our behalf to make us popular, and we have achieved that objective. So we should be applauded actually for a very shrewd strategy and quite an intelligent programming and support and approach. We actually did more than we had expected, and so as far as we are concerned, our own scorecard shows that we have done more than 100% of what we needed to do on a National Day of Awakening. We would have loved, of course, to see people on the streets, but we are intelligent. We are not stupid. Why would we want to pour our people in front of barrels of the guns so that they can be mowed down? We don't want our country to fall apart and to be spoiled. We are responsible people. We want a transition that is peaceful and that is negotiated. And so, if we were to force our people to show down yesterday with the government, and people are killed, that would have been irresponsible on our part. That's why we told our people to stay home, and that is also a major victory for us. People have listened to us. They were up, and nobody was killed yesterday or injured. So we are very proud of that. It is a major achievement on our part that for the first time in South Sudan, we are having a conversation that does not involve violence. That is an achievement, and we deserve to be congratulated for that by the people of South Sudan, not declared dead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My next question is regarding about, you mentioned, you said that it's good that you see people were nobody harmed or nobody injured yesterday. And this is what a lot of people are saying, that South Sudan is not like any other country. South Sudan have not reached that level yet for the citizen to go on the street and protesting. So it's a long road to go for South Sudan to reach that goal yet. People of South Sudan are not well enough, like, let's talk about the very people who are living in the rural area. They are not well educated to know what their right to go on the street and protest and demand what they want to demand. And also the government of South Sudan don't have like especially like when people are going outside protest, the government use the tear gas, for example, to break off the protester. So that is not that yet, and that's the reason why people are scared that PCCA is put the life of the innocent civilian at risk, and that will cause chaos. And that's one of the reasons why people were so scared when you guys calling the uprising in South Sudan. So
Right.
well, yeah.
Yeah, I think first of all, I want to debunk that type of reasoning. It is a weak reasoning, and it is part of the reason why we perpetuate this this type of regime. That's why we got this type of regime. First of all, there is nothing in the political science or in the social science that says that people have to reach a certain level for them to know their rights. The people of South Sudan that rose up in 1955 to demand their rights were far less educated than the people of South Sudan that we have today. And if I can even push it far back, in 1919, when our own people confronted the British people, they knew what their rights were, which were being violated by the British. So they went to fight them. And history has recorded that. The same thing happened in Rumbek in 1922, and also in Gajak in 1920. People rose up to challenge the British government. And of course, in 1924, the White Flag League that you heard about was also led by the people of South Sudan. Coming now to 1955 and 1963, when the Anyanya was born, and now coming to 1983. It is the same people of South Sudan who got out in 2011 to vote 98.83%, which is 99% for independence. I think they know their rights. And so that argument is absolutely weak. The conditions are right in South Sudan for people to protest. Protest is not a function of a level of education. It's a function of frustration. People are frustrated. The government is not delivering. And therefore, you have two choices in South Sudan, or three choices. One choice is to continue to suffer and give yourself up into slavery so you can be done, whatever the government wants can be done to you and you don't complain. Two, you take arms and resist the government. Three, you take the route that we are taking, that we could talk, we could create enough pressure as citizens to force the state to for us. And yesterday, not only did we achieve the victory of asking people to stay at home or to protest, and of course, after evaluating the danger, we asked our organizers on the ground to back down and to stay at home and use that as a method of protesting. The president actually went to the parliament and told people that salaries are supposed to be out for 2 months, but that there is a certain machine that has broken down. And I want to tell you, those who are helping the president, if the president needs to lie, he should lie better. What machine breaks down in the Ministry of Labor? The Ministry of Labor doesn't pay anyone. It is the ministries that pay. So, for example, if you are in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, your payroll is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And it is also with the Ministry of Finance. So the president said the people could have been paid, but because the machine broke down, the payroll system could not be printed. That is just not acceptable. It is a very lame excuse. But for the first time, the president talked about salaries. So why was that? Because we have called out on the government that they don't pay soldiers, and they know that people are unhappy. And the governor of Central Equatoria actually called the small traders and border people who are harassed every day and said, okay, we are not going to harass you anymore. We will also lower the taxes and we want you to be happy. Why? Because we have created the pressure. The government behaves well when there is a pressure. And so, my brother, those analysts who claim that South Sudan is not the best place for protests, they are telling you without saying that the only thing that works in South Sudan is for people to pick up guns and to kill. And I disagree with that. Say, for example, people have been saying the problem in Lake State can never be solved. But only to get Rin appointed, and in 3 weeks and 1 month, the problem is gone. Even people are returning cows and people are able to move freely. So these are lazy thoughts. These are thoughts of people who have been enslaved in their minds. They are not thinking. People are more intelligent than that. They know their rights. And if you interfere with their rights, they will rise up and challenge you. And that is why we are waking them up to know their rights. And once they are awake, they will be on the streets and the government will have nothing to do. They will not be able to manage them. And of course, the government will not shoot them. I can guarantee you that. They will scare them simply like that. And so the idea that the government is not responsible enough, they don't have tear gas, and therefore they will use live bullets, That is all nonsense. There is no place for it. Of course, they distributed sticks to the police yesterday, and they definitely have tear gas and they have water hoses. Those things are there. It is just the fact that they have never been tested. That's why it appears that they don't have. They do have. And of course, those reckless statements that are made that if you come to the streets, or okay, you come with your coffin, or you eat your last meal, or we have only live bullet, we don't have tear gas. If anybody is killed, those who make those statements actually will be held responsible. But we are not reckless. We know what we are doing. We care deeply about our people. We cannot endanger them. And that's why we did the right thing yesterday. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So my next question is about, there is a rumors. There's one of the rumors that I heard, but this is it's not. I don't know. It's true or right, but you were being accused and your group that government pay you lump sum of money. That's the reason why you guys didn't turn out yesterday. And this one, they said that some of the students, they were claiming that PCC is just a hawk. It's not. They're just running after their position, and then when they get what they want, they just distribute. They is it
Yeah,
true that
that
the
is also
government pay you guys money?
false. First of all, the government is actually spending money to kill us. We don't want to tell people of South Sudan that, but indeed, it is very serious. If we are found, we could be killed, or we could be arrested. And so, so the fact that people say somebody was paid to call off the protest is absolutely baseless. We are not in a communication with the government. We have not been given any money at all. And if you know someone, if anyone in the government paid us, we challenge them to come up and announce that we were paid, and therefore this amount of money and all of that. It is absolutely baseless. We have not received any payment, and we will never receive any payment. I will never accept with my colleagues to be bribed into silence when I'm speaking for the rights of the people of South Sudan. When I was and I still am, the managing director of the said institute, I was well paid through my organization, and I was able to make a living for my children. I don't need government money to make a living. Even as I speak to you, my full-time job now is the PCCA. But if I decide to look for another job with an international organization or with the UN or any other organization, or go back to the United States and teach, I would still be making a living. So it is not about money at all. It is actually about a commitment you and I made when we joined the SPLM, SPLA at a very young age. I know that even as you sit in Michigan, you are doing more to our people in the village than those of us who are on the ground, because you deeply care. And you are not doing that because you want a position or you want to be paid. You do it because you care. And I know that you have brought water to the village, you have built a school, and you are probably going to do a clinic for our poor people. I did the same. You know that. When I was in the United States, I was raising money to build schools, and we built a secondary school in Ye. We have also built a medical facility in Kaltuk and another one in Udum in northern Baragazal. And we are supporting a primary school now. We are paying teachers, sometimes from my pocket. For the last 1 year, I have been paying from my pocket the teachers of our primary school. Why do I do that? I don't need to be a chief or to be made a member of the council of elders or anything. I deeply care about our people. And so in my case, no amount of money would bribe me to be silenced about the rights of our people. And I know that it is also true for you, Abra, and many of our colleagues. We are committed to our country. We fought for it at a very young age, and we continue to fight for it until we die. Not because we want to be famous or we want to be leaders or want to be paid, but because we care. And we care because we have been given the opportunity by the American people or Australian people or Kenyan people that we migrated to their country to get some education, which we were lacking in our country. And that so we feel obliged that if we could be helped at that time, and if we didn't get help at that time, we would be dead. So we feel naturally inclined to help our people. And many of our people are doing this. Abraham Yelenial is doing this as a bishop. He's doing a tremendous job in a will. And Valentino Chagdeng is doing tremendous job in a will also. Not because they want to be famous, but they are serving. And the same is true across the board. And so those who don't know who we are and what our core values are and what we stand for could take those cheap lies and think that we are just people who are seeking attention and power and position. That's not the intention. We really want our people to have better lives because that's what we sacrifice our childhood for, and our own children and children of our relatives should have the same opportunities that we see in other countries. That is what is motivating us. That's what we had hoped our government would do, but it had failed. And that's why we're having this conversation today. So I would tell our people to dismiss those lies outright. We are a new crop of people in South Sudan. We are revolutionaries from very young age. We are not for money, and we are not for power, and we are not for position. We are for service. We want to serve our people. We want better lives for them. And so those wild rumors feed the current crop of leaders who are running South Sudan. These are the people who can be bribed with positions and power, not us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abraham. My next question is regarding about now. So what's next for PCCA?
And that is an excellent question. And that is exactly the question that I had hoped you would ask. The next thing is now PCCA is known by the people of South Sudan. So we are going to go deeper into the grassroots, organize our people, create cells in every county, in every state, um, and in all the major towns, and train our leaders on how to manage the mobilization, how to manage crowds, how to actually carry out peaceful demonstrations. And we will continue to protest. This time, we are not going to be announcing any protests. What we were doing, as I told you before, was a show. We want people to know who we are and what we stand for. But the next phase that we are going to get in is the real phase of work, and we will decide what to do. We could call people to protest in one particular place, not everywhere in the country, or we could call for mass protests everywhere in the country at the time of our choosing. So what we are now, we are a young organization, 31 years old today. We are going to organize ourselves, mobilize our people, mobilize resources, and continue to pursue the objectives that we have outlined in a peaceful means through demonstrations, through boycott, through strikes, through sit-ins. All kinds of means will be used to continue to bring pressure to bear on the government, and until the day that we are able to succeed. And so the next 1 month, the next 2 months, the next 3 months are critical for us to organize and to bring our people to the streets. So that is the next step. We are going to actually do the work of organizing on the ground. We are not organized. We would be lying to you if we say we have organized everything in the counties and in the states. No, we did not. We organized in Juba, but now we are known. We have representatives in the states, so we have to go deeper and deeper into organizing our people and building our movement. But we will continue to challenge the government of South Sudan on the streets of Juba and on the streets of other capitals. And so you will get to hear from us from time to time.
Okay. Thank you. My next question is regarding, so are you and your colleague will transform the PCCA from civil movement to political party?
Not at all. We will continue to be a civil movement until the objectives that we aspire for are achieved. Thereafter, we can decide whether some of us will go back to civil society and some of us will now move into a political arena. But for now, we are purely a civil movement, mobilizing our people. We are disinterested in politics. We are interested in a change of policy and change of environment and change of leadership. So we will continue to remain a civil organization, a civil movement. Maybe we should call ourselves actually a civil rights movement, and that's what we should be. That's right.
So yeah, thank you. One of the I know I have 4 minutes left for the for 2 hour show because this interview was scheduled for 1 hour. Let me pull
That's
up
right.
one of the questions from for next 4 minutes so that you can answer from our viewers who are watching. Sometimes I don't want to neglect them so that they can be a part. There's a question coming from Yandi Alwal Mukwe. Said, are you aware that the ground would take caught for fire today, the innocent blood of the citizen in organ of your action? So he's saying that there was a fire. Ground hotel in Juba was caught by fire. Are you aware about that?
Yes, I'm aware. I was informed about it, although I'm still get a full report of what happened. Obviously, these days you don't take things that you get in the social media as fact because you could be lying to people. And so I still don't know exactly what the cause of fire is, but I'm aware that around 4 o'clock today, Juba time, the Crown Hotel caught fire, either 3 or 4 o'clock today. And we have been informed about what could possibly be the cause of it, but we are not sure. But definitely, I understand where the question is going. Obviously, the owners of Crown Hotel are part of the cartel of Arab-based organizations that have been helping siphoning the money out of South Sudan, and these are the people that are enabling the corruption and the looting of our country. And so I understand why that person asked that question, that the lives of innocent people are watching what you are doing. And so I understand the context through which that question came from. But yes, let us dig up more information, and we can then make a comment on the fire at Crown Hotel. But for now, there is not much to say than to acknowledge that yes, I'm aware that there was a fire.
Okay, due to yesterday event, do you know how many people has been arrested? This question is coming from Simon Aboy. So how many people has been arrested so far since yesterday? So it's talk about yesterday. Either your member of your PCCA were arrested or no?
There were a few people that were arrested, mostly in other parts of the country. Some of them were immediately released. but some of them remain. And some of our supporters, some of them are still on the run. They are being hunted. We had advised some of our supporters actually to change their locations every day where they were sleeping to avoid being arrested. And we know that government agents have actually gone to their houses to look for them. So some civil society members were arrested, and I don't want to give you a number because it is a number that is not stable. It is keep changing. So once we have a definite number, we will tell you. But what we know is that in Yei we have 3 people that were arrested 2 days before the the thing the 30th, or 3 days before the 30th, on the 27th and on the 28th. That's when people were arrested, including the bishop. Those people remain in custody. They have not been released. So I will give you a number in a matter of time once we get the clarity on the ground.
Okay, so to follow up that question, how is former Governor Agwar is doing? Is he still in jail, in prison, or he was released?
Thank you for asking.
Health stage?
Thank you very much for asking. In fact, there were wild rumors brought to my attention yesterday that Governor Quill actually is not in jail. It is all a ploy. He stays in near the prison during the day, but then at night he goes and eat and play cards with a Kolkor. Those are Governor Query remains in the central. He's no longer in the Blue House. He was repaired to the central prison 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks now, and he remains in custody there. His situation is he has not been feeling well, and we had asked that he should be given medical attention. That has not yet happened. Yeah, so Governor Query remains in jail. He has not been released, and his health condition has deteriorated. And we demand that the government should have him released with immediate effect. He has not committed any crime, and that he should be allowed to seek medical attention outside the prison facilities. He's not a type of person that could go and run away if he's allowed to go see his doctor.
Okay, thank you. I will pull out 2 more questions from our viewers. There's a question coming from Maurice Mabur. He's asking you, are you fighting for the regime change, or are you fighting for leadership?
Well, what is a regime? A regime is a government that is under a leadership of someone. And so we are asking for leadership change in South Sudan, which will automatically lead to the change of the nature of regime that we have. So regime change obviously can happen in many ways. It could happen through elections, or it could happen through resignation of the president, or death, or through peaceful protests, as people have done in Khartoum and in Cairo. And so the question really is a tricky question, in a sense that the one asking wants to separate the regime from the leadership, but there is no leadership without a regime, and there is no regime without a leadership, and so they are one and the same thing.
Okay, the last question is coming from Apuk Aliab. Is asking you, can you ask? Actually, I already had that question to you. He said that, can you ask Abraham what is the next move? So I think you already answered that question.
Yeah, I could simply say that to reiterate it, that we have not cancelled the protest. We had said that people will be protesting throughout until we are able to bring down the government. So that provision remains in place, and so it is a question of when and how and where. That is now to us to choose and to pick the day and the time that we think is appropriate. So we'll continue to mount protests against the government. It could be tomorrow. You never know. It could be a month from now.
Okay. There's a lot of questions coming in. There is a question coming from the people. He said the government is now hunting for your members. So how are you, your agency, going to be to do the work in the state and the counties?
Well, we now know the government very well, and we know how it works and how it operates. So we have capabilities. So far, we have done it very well. The government doesn't know who is supporting us, who doesn't support us. They are struggling with that. That is actually their biggest headache. And that is why they came out in full force yesterday. So we know what to do. We will give instructions to our people how best to deal with setting up those structures and creating cells. So the creation of cells actually is the most effective way to organize, because one cell doesn't know the existence of another cell, and even those people in the cell don't know who else is in the cell. So it is a complex operation that is adapted to the nature of the regime that we have. So we will be able to operationalize our strategies.
Yeah, there's a question coming from Jabril. Jabril, I think I asked, is one of my questions that I asked Abraham, and he said that can you ask ask you about about the list of the ally interim of the leadership that is circling around in the social media. I think that the one of the questions I asked you earlier. If
Right.
You can add more.
Yeah, so I hope that is the last question. The list is baseless. We are not a political organization right now, and we are not seeking leadership and power. And so those who made that list are our enemies. These are people who want to set us up for failure, that we are only seeking power, and we have no interest in pursuing the greater interests of the ordinary people of South Sudan. So we are not a political party. Political party has the objective of pursuing power. We are a civil rights movement, and we are pursuing the rights of our people to a better life and to have a good government. That's what we are pursuing. And so that is false and has no basis.
Yeah, thank you. This should be the last, but only the question is about your safety. Tim Deng is asking you, knowing what happened before our wall, are you sure for your safety? So that's the last question.
I'm not absolutely very sure about my safety, but I have a strong intelligence that keep me informed of what is being done, and that is why I have managed to stay for 30 days. The government is spending a significant amount of resources to track me down with my colleagues. And so I cannot guarantee my safety 100%, but I'm trying my best to stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Abraham, for coming to State Media, and thank you all our viewers for coming in. The interview was set for 1 hour, so the 1 hour of time frame is up. Thank you again. We will bring you back again if there is another thing that we think that we can bring you back and interview you. Thank you for coming in on State Media. Have a wonderful night. I know it's late there in Juba, so have a wonderful night. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much, and thank to all the listeners. Appreciate it. See you soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Have a good night.
Okay.
Master Keunawe. Selector Bill Pamake. Wega Bati, Yeruli, Janang Bantungaya. Ninya Jenge, Kunya Jangutembe. Ajin Banda Tongaya, Najin Banda. Ajin Banda Bebia, Yerulawan. Yerula Ebana Koi Murian, Murian Kodang. Tango Panalia, Wadua Dini Kajem, Ubai Pandang, Panijen Manyan. Wega Bati.
stay the Panchir America. Banyi dual the Banaban walk on the lake, Kankara water no watching. Oga level lake, Gear Pow, Lake, Panda with Yay, Panchir America. Panya dual Vano, Chingatongo Pandon, could you buy a check out? Papu Panda Juru, Yabi, Panchir America, Panchir Dual, Panapan Panchal Leg